Welcome back. And you brought flowers too. How nice.
Just a social obligation.
You were never a fan of those. In fact, you were never a fan of any of this, really. And yet, you're still here. Sitting with me.
I can't help but mourn. With everything that happened.
You'll never stop thinking about it. It'll always be on your mind. Questioning how, where, when, what. You'll always be this way.
Shut up.
You're never gonna get rid of me.
Shut up.
'Cause you just won't let it go, will you?
Shut up!
I'm not the one holding on to years of grief.
You made that happen.
I'm not the one holding on to years of sorrow.
You caused all this!
That's all you. It was always all you.
Stop blaming me!
You remember when you found out, don't you?
Don't do this.
The look on your face.
Just stop.
The moment you realized who you were talking to. The real me. And it's still killing you from the inside out.
Just get out of my head!
Then let me leave. Stop thinking about it. If you can.
And welcome to the Postmodern Art Podcast, the podcast dedicated to giving artists who are wide the world over the platform they deserve. I'm your host, Nathan Ragland, and it's that time once again. It is time for Amateur April, the time of the year to where I find some fantastic artists that not enough people follow, and I encourage you all to show them that love and support. And for today's episode, I found a fantastic artist that has found a way to both experiment with the fantastical while staying grounded in indigenous roots. And I sincerely think you guys are going to love the conversation I have for you today. Today's guest is Hannah, better known as Turquoise Tiger, a digital artist of Diné or Navajo descent, whose enthusiasm of fantasy has led to several stunning pieces. Hannah is someone that I actually discovered on Portfolio Day, just seeing all the different artists promoting their stuff and seeing just how stunning her art was. Like I knew I had to get her on to talk about both the realistic culture, but also the out of this world fantastical elements that she has incorporated in her art. And I think you're going to absolutely love the conversation I have for you today. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please make sure you support Hannah with the links down in the description below. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. Leave 5 stars wherever you can. You know I see that stuff, and you know it genuinely warms my heart. If you want to go a little further with that support, may I recommend you check out the merch shop at fourthwall.com. That link in the description below. We have some fantastic merch as done by some outstanding artists, and I think you would look sensational in that garb today. And of course, if all you're looking for is a nice, cool, casual place where you can meet up with some of these other artists, really grow as a community, spread your artwork out to other people in the world, may I recommend you check out our Discord server, the Artist Sanctuary. We've already developed quite an incredible group there, and I think you would be a fantastic addition to that group today. But now, without further ado, please enjoy the Postmodern Art Podcast. thank you so much for doing this, by the way. This is a
of course.
pleasure.
Yeah.
No, it's one of those
I've never had an opportunity like this, so I was like, well, I might as well.
Well, I mean, to be fair, so there's a couple reasons why I wanted to make sure I have you. One, like I said, I saw your portfolio day stuff or whatnot, and I knew I needed to have you on at some point in the near future. Secondly, I plan on this episode being premiered in April, and in April in particular, I have what I call Amateur April, aka where it's where I usually get like users and artists or whatnot that I think have like too small of a following, you know, like they deserve a little bit more, especially with the quality of art that you're putting out there and whatnot.
Oh, that means a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely. I thought you deserved a little bit more. Like it's don't get me wrong, it's not like it's not like I'm always getting like the biggest names every single week on the podcast and whatnot. But
trust me, I saw who you've had. I was like, whoa, oh my gosh. I was like surprised. That's really great for you guys though.
You know, I like to I don't like to brag too much, but no. I was, in fact, the interview that I just said like earlier today, it was with a TikToker by the name of Mr. Kitty. Like that's her name on their one. She has like cool like animations or whatnot. And I mentioned that one because she had mentioned that like one of her inspirations was The Odd Ones Out or whatnot.
Oh, and he's been on.
Yeah, I was saying I had to do the casual flex, and they're like, "That is my idol." Like
that's awesome.
Like they fit like she fangirled over the guy real quickly.
Yeah. Totally get that.
But yeah, no, I mean, like I said, like it's not like I'm constantly getting odd ones out every single week or whatnot. But at the same time, like if I'm always a person that wants to champion all sorts of different kinds of artists with what little platform I can, and especially if I can get an opportunity to get more people onto what you're producing out there and whatnot, I feel like it's a job well done for me.
Yeah, that means a lot. Yeah, it's important. It's important work. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, especially because I can only imagine how hard you work on that art just in general or whatnot.
Honestly, yeah. So, the amount of work that I feel like I've been putting into my more recent stuff, like I have always been kind of like really scared to like get into like the digital painting and rendering stuff because I always thought I'm like maybe I just don't have like an eye for it or something. So like, you know, this was like probably years ago, like back when like doing like line art and then like having all the like organized stuff was like the big thing,
right?
But then like with, you know, gosh, with the Spider-Verse movies and Arcane coming out, the more very like textured graphic like kind of art being more popular now, people are more wanting to get into like the more rendered and painterly kind of stuff, which like I've experimented with, haven't been super like proud of everything, but for whatever reason recently I'm like, damn, I kind of like did that. So like I feel like the work I've been putting into my more rendered stuff recently has been like really like a lot more than I have in the past, and I'm like really proud of myself for that.
You know what we call that at the end of the day? Progress, growth.
Yeah, that's prog, and that's on progress.
There you go. There you go. I can't wait to really like dig into all that kind of stuff, especially with like, your process or whatnot. Like it leaves me excited for this conversation. I'm genuinely cannot wait to have this chat.
I'm excited too.
This is gonna be a good time. I can just feel it.
Yes,
I can feel it in my bones. I mean, also I'm not gonna lie. Part of the reason I wanted to have you on is because I don't think I've ever had like a dedicated person of Native American descent or whatnot.
Yeah, somebody indigenous.
Yeah, indigenous. There you go. And like it. I would love to know how much of that has an aspect of your art. Like, I know it's probably not, like, the end-all, be-all or whatnot. Like, it's not everything that you put into your art. Obviously, there's, like, the fancy aspect. I saw some of the Final Fantasy artwork and stuff and that kind of stuff.
You.
But, like, I can only imagine how much of, like, stuff that you may have gotten from, like, the culture and, like, from what you've learned from there. Like, how much that you put into your stuff. How much that influences what you do these days. I would love that perspective. I love learning about different perspectives, different culture and stuff like that. So.
That's important, yeah. Learning other people's perspective is definitely something that, like, while I'm not, like, you know, I guess what people would consider, like, old and wise yet, I feel like having other people's perspectives and wanting to, like, seek those other perspectives out is, like, a really important part of, like, life. Because, like, girl, you only got one.
Exactly.
So make friends with other people that don't have the same one as you. Like, that's the beauty of it.
There's already enough negativity in this world as it is. So, like, just take, like, the additional, like, 30 minutes or so just to know someone just a little bit better. Even just a little bit, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's you know, that's why I'm also, like, really excited to have that kind of, like, the culture talk, I feel like would be a really fun thing for us to chat about. I mean, all in all, I got you here already. It's gonna be a fun
Yeah,
chat.
yeah.
I cannot wait. I apologize if you hear any background noise on my end. We have 4 dogs that live here, and I think they might be outside right now. So yeah,
I get it. I haven't heard anything though, so you're totally fine.
Oh, they're not barking just this moment, but you give them time.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I was gonna say the only thing I can really control is really in this square space of a room that I have, and even then, what's in here sometimes scares me. But not Clyde. Clyde is good.
Yeah, and you got Tyler and Lil Nas back there.
Of course I do. I've got to have those.
Those are the goats.
The Tyler was like the first poster I have just to add something to my wall. It was just like a blank green wall beforehand.
It looks really good against the green though.
It does. And then the Lil Nas X one, that's not a photo, that's actually a hyper-realistic portrait from one of the former guests of the podcast. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, wow, that's really awesome.
Yeah, it's very well done.
Yeah, it is. Honestly, from wherever the camera is, like, I'm like, wow, that's a really great like picture, that poster that you got. It's painting though. That's awesome.
Yes, I mean, like, if you lean in, you can see some of the details. You can at least see obviously the signature on like the hand if I was like leaning into it or whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, I'm proud of my wall. I think you can probably.
Yeah. I think when you extended the offer, I was like, oh gosh, I'll say yes, but I also am like, I should watch one of the interviews just so I can kind of like quell a bit of my anxiety and get an idea of like what I'm going to be like talking about and stuff. So I watched a Bihaz episode. And the first thing that stood out to me was like, oh my gosh, your wall is like really incredible. Like, like I still live with my parents, so you know, my room's kind of eclectic, and behind me, since I haven't had a webcam before, is super like just boring whatever.
Hey, you know what? I will say the Billy Idol like banner in the background is not bad.
Thank you. I went through a Billy Idol phase a year or two ago. So.
Hey, respect. He's a legend for a reason, all right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
We at this podcast do not judge based on something like Billy Idol. Now, if it's something like AI art or whatnot, then we'd have some issues. But yeah.
100%.
I was gonna say, I mean, to be fair, I am also living at my parents' place, but I've been living here for years. That's how I've accumulated quite a bit like this. So, but yeah,
totally get it.
All right, Hannah. Before we really do get going, I must ask the icebreaker question of the podcast, if I may.
All right, let's go.
Let's say you get to go to a desert island on your own accord. It's just you alone with your thoughts. You get to kick back, relax, breathe, get to really enjoy yourself for a little bit. I shouldn't say deserted. It's more like, you know, you have accommodations, like a little personal B&B paradise away from society for a little bit. You know, just to clear your head. To help make sure you don't go completely insane on this island, you could bring one piece of media or one piece of art with you to help whatever kind of headspace you want on this island. If given the opportunity, what would that one piece be?
Gosh, okay. I was expecting this question because I've seen one of the other interviews before, but
I appreciate that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I was thinking either like a piece, like an album, like a music album, or like a show. And I just recently binged Castlevania Nocturne.
Ooh.
It's not my favorite next to the original Castlevania series because I love Alucard, Trevor, and Seinfeld a lot.
I've heard that critique before. You're not the first one.
Yeah. But I loved Nocturne for Olrox because he was that indigenous vampire representation.
Oh, there you go.
So that was really awesome to have. But I don't know if I would consider either of those shows to be a comfort show, so I might just pick like a music album. If I had to pick like a music album that I wouldn't get tired of, it might be Gorillaz Plastic Beach.
Oh,
that got me through high school.
You picked a golden one right there. Okay, aside from obviously the high school connection, why is that the answer? Why is the one that you think you would lean to just never get tired of it?
I think just Gorillaz is so timeless, and I feel like, you know, if you're a Gorillaz fan, you know, like the eras of like the albums and stuff, and like they're virtual bands, so like, you know, the characters being like the mascots of the band.
Yes.
I think visually, I really liked Plastic Beach for like, you know, the actual practical like sets they did for like the little miniatures of like the one on the album is the one I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
like,
no,
that
absolutely.
Little miniature of like the crazy modern futuristic house and like the super like absurd looking like island, like, and the sunset, like just the colors of the sunset are like so like iconic to me, and that's just what I picture when I think of like the album. I just think of that like that image of the album is just what that album feels like to me, and like Up on Melancholy Hill.
Yeah.
Like, it's just such a good album. I just love visually, like the colors that they use, and even like gosh, I can't remember what animatic the music video kind of sketch idea was for, but if you've seen it, it's that animatic with like the pirates in the desert and stuff that like Jamie Hewlett did.
I think I remember which one you're
I don't remember what song it is, but you know
exactly.
it.
I think I know which animatic you're talking about. I just don't remember the song that comes with.
Yeah. I don't remember which one it is either, but that one too, just like, oh, I love that like painterly, very like graphic, artistic like style that like he has. Like, going back to high school, that album and all the Gorillaz music got me through high school. But specifically, I remember, I think it might have been I don't remember if it was in my AP class that I took or if it was one of my other ones before I took the AP class.
Mm-hmm.
I did like a study on a few pieces of Jamie Hewlett's style.
Okay.
Looking back, not super proud of them. I might have been proud of like one or two of them, because when you look back at your old stuff, it's like, oh, you cringe a little bit, but other times you're like, wow, I did that? That's crazy. Me, I kind of cringe looking back at that, but it's good to style study, so I did enjoy doing the style study and seeing Jamie's work.
I mean, it's good to know that inspiration like was more than just like the incredible music itself. It's like the way that it was like more or less presented like on all different fronts. I was gonna say like it, for this question or whatnot, the island that we're taking you to, boom, you're on Plastic Beach, like that.
Yeah.
That's where
I'm on Plastic Beach.
Yeah, there you go. Before it got destroyed in that one music video from the last album or whatnot, but that is specifically the beach you're going to. That is your personal B&B paradise away from society. I mean, like, just the visuals alone, like the music is phenomenal, but the visuals alone was like something else. Like, we were already,
it was different for the time.
Yeah,
it was like crazy experimental.
I mean, it's not like we weren't expecting like insane visuals from Gorillaz. I mean, look at all
their
from their first two albums alone. I mean, Clint Eastwood, freaking Feel Good Inc., Dare, like those music videos alone are iconic. But like the way that they went like above and beyond, like telling that the narrative like throughout like all the different music videos and whatnot, like it was magnifique.
It was chef's kiss, perfect.
Chef's kiss. But with that, Plastic Beach. That is your answer. You're locking that in.
Yes.
Then if that's the case, I cannot think of a better way to start the Postmodern Art Podcast. Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Nathan Ragland. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. You would look fantastic in the merch that we have at the merch shop, fourthwall.com. Link to that is in the description below. And follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and most social media platforms at Postmod Art Pod for future updates and guest announcements, including today's guest. She is a digital artist of Diné or Navajo descent, whose enthusiasm of fantasy has led to several stunning pieces. Welcome to the podcast, Hannah, better known as Turquoise Tiger.
Hi, it's nice to be here.
I did pronounce the Diné right, correct? Like
it's Diné and Navajo.
Diné and Navajo. Okay, I wanted to make sure that was the part I did not butcher out of that entire thing.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, you did it great.
But thank you so much for taking the time to be here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I woke up a little late today, so I'm a little sleepy still, but I'm here.
Well, it's also, to give a little, behind the scenes for when we're recording this, it also doesn't help that we're also doing this, like, literally the day of daylight savings or whatnot.
Oh my gosh,
yeah. So, kind of a little, I can get, trust me, part of the reason why I'm drinking the sparkling ice plus caffeine or whatnot is for the caffeine, okay?
Felt that. If caffeine affected me, I would be too. But...
There you go. It rarely affects me. Like, it gives me a...
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm going way off track already. We're just getting this bad boy started. But thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Of course.
Like I had told you before or whatnot, like I got aware of your stuff because of the most recent portfolio day, which if nothing else, that should be a hit for people out there that if you see something like that, take part in it. Like, let people know about your stuff. Get your name out there because you never know what kind of connections you'll make. And especially whenever I saw the kind of art that you were producing out there and whatnot, I knew I needed to have you on the podcast at some point. And I'm glad that...
Oh, thank you.
I'm glad that we got to do this now more than ever. But before we talk about the stuff you're doing nowadays, I want to go back just a little bit and learn more or less the origin story of Turquoise Tiger, or more or less the origin story of Hannah. What got you interested in the arts in general in the first place?
Honestly, so it's kind of weird because I think most people that are artists are either like, my parents wouldn't support me, or both my parents are artists.
Right.
both my parents are artistic. My mom really regrets not, having the option when she was going to college to go to like an art school. It just wasn't like as commonly known. It was just like, if you don't know what you want to do, go to college, get like a general, degree or whatever. So that's what she did.
Mm-hmm.
But she is creative. My dad is also creative. So my mom is white.
Okay.
My dad is the Navajo side.
Gotcha.
So I'm BIPOC. So my dad's side is very interesting. He is adopted, so he has his Navajo side of the family in like New Mexico and Arizona, like on the res. And then he also has his family that's in Canada with all of his other adopted brothers and sisters. And my mom.
I'm sorry, I was gonna say that is quite a dynamic right there of like just two different places and whatnot.
When I say it, I'm like, yeah, it's just like a regular Tuesday. But when I'm saying it to new people that I haven't met yet, they're like, oh wow, that is like really different. It's like,
talk about a culture shock more than anything else between the two.
Yeah, exactly. And my mom's side is she's Italian, so like her side's from like the East Coast.
And there's another culture that we get.
Yeah, exactly. Got that Italian and that Navajo in me, so I got the dark hair, dark eyes for sure. But yeah, so my dad's side is the one that has the Navajo on it, and when I was growing up, he learned from pretty sure his adopted mom, and his adoptive dad, like doing like jewelry, like silver jewelry with like turquoise and stuff. So like he was doing all that kind of jewelry stuff when I was little, and I think one of the most like not normal memories that I have, like that's not common because of just the way that my dad is and the way my mom is. I remember like several times after like school, sometimes my dad would pick me up and we would go down to, I live in Indiana, by the way.
Okay.
So we would go to downtown Indy, and there's like a native museum that's literally downtown right next to the State Museum.
Okay.
Called the Idol Jorg. And we would go down to the museum, and my dad like knew the director at the time, and we would go and like sell some of his jewelry and some of my jewelry because I would make like beaded jewelry and stuff.
Okay.
So we would go down there and sell stuff, and they have a gift shop where you can buy like actual artisan made like jewelry and stuff. So that's where some of his pieces sold, and so that's how
nice.
He kind of made some money off that too. And he also did like wood carvings and stuff, like kind of sculptural pieces and like masks and stuff. Because him and my mom also lived on the northern west coast of like Canada, kind of like above Seattle and Washington.
Right,
up
there
where
around
it rains a lot.
like close to, I assume, like Vancouver or whatnot. Like
yes, in Vancouver. Yep.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. So they lived there for a while before I was born, and then they moved back to Indy, where my mom's parents are.
Okay.
So my dad's always been very like hands-on creative and stuff, and my parents have always been very, very supportive of me wanting to pursue art. So really I can't pinpoint like how old I was when I started wanting to do art, but
right,
every kid draws at some point, so whenever I started drawing is when that started.
Well, I mean, it makes me curious on what came first. Was it the drawing or was it the jewelry making? Like
it probably was a little bit of both.
There you go. I was gonna say it's really cool to hear the different kinds of ways that like your father was especially like active when it comes to like the creatives or whatnot, or at least doing that kind of stuff. I would love to see some of those like the wood carvings as like some of the jewelries that you guys did or whatnot. Like that would I imagine like how. I can only imagine how stunning those pieces have to look or whatnot. Like I've always been a person that wants to do a little bit more of like a hands-on kind of approach when it comes to like art stuff like that. Like
yes.
on top of the stuff that you illustrate or whatnot, I'm a person that loves like pottery. So like dealing with clay or whatnot.
Oh my gosh, yes. I would love to do pottery again. I miss my ceramics class from high school so bad.
Same. Oh my god, you'll not have like. I have two pieces that I have left from when I was in there in high school. One of them is over there. And it's a little statue to where like we were supposed to like do a body type to represent like an emotion or whatnot. And what I did was less about like the body itself and more on the glaze that I had used, because I use like a pitch black on a person that's like looking down on his luck, like looks like he's back against the wall, hand on his knee, has like a little suitcase like here that says needs food or whatnot. Like I was showing more or less like a depressive kind of like mental state. You can tell where I was in high school mentally.
I feel like that's the thing about high school. I feel like if you didn't have the actual high school experience, if you did not have a bit of a very low time in high school.
Exactly. That's why I'm on antidepressants now. Anyways.
Mental health is important.
Mental health is important. Mental health is mental wealth. There you go. But regardless, it's cool to know that, especially like early on, especially with all the different kinds of cultures that you could get like the art inspiration from. Like you were really exposed early on to that kind of stuff. Like that had to be like, that had to be just like eye opening, like just right off the bat, like being exposed to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Thinking back to it, I had a very unique like upbringing just because of my parents' background, like more so my dad's. Because this is something that we might talk about for a while. Hey. So tell me if it's too long. But
go for it.
I think one of the biggest like kind of, I don't want to say culture shocks, but kind of shocks after kind of growing up like with my dad and my mom is being somebody who is BIPOC and my dad not being on the res anymore and me being away from like that side of the culture. Because since then he's gone back to see like family and stuff, and you know we've gone as a family. And, like, that's been really awesome. But that was, like, when I was younger, so I don't remember all of it. But, like, we've been back since. But growing up, like, somewhere where there is nobody that looks like me or, like, has the same background as me. Not that there aren't, like, other indigenous people that live in Indiana. But the way I am so far away from the Navajo res is definitely something. So growing up, it was, like, I did battle a lot of like self-esteem issues just based on like my general peers not like being able to like exactly relate to me other than just being like kids, you know, like going through school and stuff. So I had a lot of like self-esteem issues and like body image issues like growing up just because I didn't feel like I looked like everyone else. And we all know at the time TV and like media representation for people of color was not like where it is today.
Not at
all. So when it was nowhere near close. So like when I see TV shows like about indigenous people or like kids shows that have like an indigenous lead, like that means so much to me because I did not have that growing up. And like one of the things that I champion is like representation matters. So like I know visually a lot of my art pieces don't have like what people would say like that indigenous flair about it. But I feel like everything that I make is like, you know, it's made by somebody who is indigenous. And I've said this, I don't think I said it on Blue Sky, but before I got rid of my Twitter, because we all know what Twitter is like now.
Yep. Fuck Elon Musk.
Yep, an unfortunate loss of a lot of years of me posting art and stuff. Gone. But one of the things that I remember saying explicitly on Twitter, I don't know how long ago, but was like all of my OCs are indigenous unless I say otherwise because that's what I am, so that's what they are. So I really champion that representation matters a lot, even if like, you know, you don't see yourself in that representation. It's representation for somebody else, whether it, you know, matters to you or not. Like it matters to somebody else. And absolutely. That like means the world. So yeah, growing up I had a hard time with kind of appreciating my background. So there was, I think throughout like my schooling, I think towards the end of elementary into middle school and into high school was probably when I was deep into that like I wish I was literally anybody else kind of thing. And it's kind of crazy to say this because TikTok's been through a lot this past 2-ish years. But when it was starting to take off towards the end of my high school year, which unfortunately also got interrupted by COVID. So I didn't actually get a good graduation or a prom. So that kind of stinks. But when TikTok was taking off towards the end of my like schooling, like high school years, I was coming across like a lot of indigenous creators, and that was something that I hadn't seen before because we all know most YouTube personalities are like white men or just men.
Yeah, what kind of YouTube personalities? Like, just look, they're just nothing but a bunch of white dudes just sitting in front of a microphone thinking they know what they're talking about.
And those male podcasters.
The male podcasters. I can't.
Get those alpha podcasters out of here. Don't need none of that unless we're like joking about it. I love the joke ones.
No, especially I love like some of the joke ones, but and obviously I'm joking a little bit when it comes to like, the white YouTubers and the white podcaster. Like white male pocket, like come on, it's just too much of them. Like it's a
self-aware joke.
Of course it is.
But you know what I mean, though.
Oh, trust me, I know exactly what you mean, and I fully agree with you.
Yeah, but just I was seeing like a lot of like indigenous creators like from all over, like from Canada, from the US, from like all over the world, because I think one of the biggest misconceptions that people have is like indigenous people are only in like America, like the Indians. Like, don't call us that. Don't call us that. We can call ourselves that, but don't have a white person calling us that. That's not.
Trust me, no. There's a reason why the white person put that on there. Is because they were idiots when they came to the indigenous Native America in the first place.
Exactly. So yeah, I think the biggest misconceptions that people have is that like we're only from America or like North America. It's like no. There's indigenous people all over the world. They're indigenous people for a reason. They were there first before the colonizers.
Exactly.
But going back to high school, I struggled a lot, and seeing all those TikTok creators like, talking about like the culture, like, informing, talking about like powwows, because powwows are such a big thing for like, the North American indigenous people. And like I've been to so many when I was younger. There's been a few that were here when I was younger. I remember going, and my dad, my mom, and I would go, and he would have like a booth, like a tent, and we would sell some of his jewelry there too. So that was like another thing. Nice. But seeing all of these other like indigenous creators like have a platform and stuff, and like talking about like important matters in regards to indigenous people, like the missing and murdered indigenous women, that is like such a huge problem still. Like that spoke to so many people. So many people didn't know about that. What else? The boarding schools. Yep. The super like inhumane boarding schools. Like talking about all of those, because I feel like it's different when you read it in a textbook in high school or just in school. And a lot of times we breeze right over that. That's like chapter 1, and then you're moving on to the rest of the history book. Like that's it. It's barely a footnote. And so getting to actually hear those perspectives from an actual indigenous person that is alive today, it isn't some like like view in the past. Because I think that's also a big gripe that I have with media and Hollywood at large, is they really only like to see indigenous people as we were back in the day, like when they were colonizing us. And I can't take credit for saying that. That's something that Adam Beach has said. He's another indigenous actor. He said that before, I think talking to a college, but they only like to see us when we're about to be colonized. They hate to see us in the modern day, which I am so thankful for newer shows like Res Dogs and what's that other one? That one with that one actor from The Office. I'm blanking on it. Oh, Rutherford Falls.
There you go.
Rutherford Falls and Res Dogs have been such great shows, which I'm so sad. Res Dogs finished, I think. That one finished airing. Rutherford Falls got canceled, which I'm so sad about, because that one was really, really good. It was a comedy, and so is Res Dogs. But if anybody is interested at all in any native culture stuff, pick up those shows. Those are great.
Absolutely.
Love those.
I mean, I was gonna say, just real quickly, like just thinking back to like what we were talking about, especially with like in high school, like growing up. Obviously, like you said, first off, this is high school we're talking about alone. Like you're already having lots of mental thoughts about like how I look or whatnot. Like because high school is torture on the teenager's psyche more than anything else. So like already struggling with that, but on top of that, especially with like your cultural aspect of it and like how little positive indigenous representation there was out there. I mean, thinking back to especially then, like in like the late 2000s, early 2010s, like the most positive one I could think of was how they represented Sacagawea and Night in the Museum or whatnot. Like that was
like one of my favorite movies growing up.
Exactly, and like and like you got that being like one of the few like rare actually positive ones, but to where like especially the more you kind of grew up with that kind of stuff, and especially seeing with TikTok really providing that new outlet for you to see all sorts of different people talking about both the good and the bad, really just telling the truth about the indigenous culture. What I can understand for you, like how it makes you feel. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine like being exposed to that stuff, seeing more of that stuff, especially the shows like Res Dogs or whatnot, like it gave you a more positive, affirmation about yourself and your culture and your heritage more than anything else.
And like the TikTokers, like I can't shout all of them out. There's so many of them, but I'm really thankful for them because I think towards the end of high school is when seeing all of that and seeing that like be affirmed, like for me, was like it really helped me like be more confident in like my background and not hate myself so much, and it actually made me like proud to be like, you know, to be, you know, Navajo and indigenous, to be the background that I am. So like it really helped a lot. Like, which is it to me it sounds silly to say, but I really appreciate all these creators for what they've done, even if like, you know, I never got TikTok and I don't follow them. Just like being able to come across their stuff on like YouTube and other platforms has life-changing, really.
It's one of those examples of just how good social media can be. You know,
yes.
Like obviously we all know the downsides of it. For God's sakes, that's why we constantly say fuck Elon Musk. All right, I will say that to the day at this point.
Exactly.
But like, there's also a lot of positivity, really amplifying voices that may not have been discovered otherwise, and could really help grow people in one form or fashion. Really help people in one form or fashion that they may you know feel complicit otherwise. It's part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast thing, more or less, because like I know there's artists out there, a lot of them get easily discouraged or whatnot, you know, thinking like, God, this is such a cannibalistic I don't know if I'm ever gonna make it as art. So if I present them at least like artists that are in similar fields or artists that they look up to and admire, and have them talk about like both the highs of what they've been able to do, but also like the lows, the struggles, the journeys that they've been able to take, hopefully it can give them some positive affirmation and get them closer to their dream. That's part of the reason why I want to do this thing. That, and I just love having cool conversations with cool people. Like I'm not gonna argue with that. All right.
You get a little bit of both, and that's what matters.
I get a lot of both. I'll say that.
Yes.
I imagine, especially for you, especially like later on in more recent years, with those positive affirmations and whatnot. I'm curious how much of that has kind of been translated into your artwork. Like how much of like really being more exposed to the culture or whatnot. How much of that have you been able to put into your artwork and really show that in full force and show a new love for that culture?
I didn't experiment and like show it as much as I feel like I should have when I was in high school, like I said. And growing up and making art and stuff, because gosh, if I had to date it, I must have started doing digital art around like late intermediate school, middle school.
Okay.
And I still have it. I still have my old DeviantArt account up. So I have that relic.
That's gotta be like a relic at this point of like looking at that kind of stuff and just being like,
there are so many pictures from like, gosh, my old like not my iPhone, my old like iPods of like with the flash on, of like pictures of in my old sketchbooks, which I have, but you know those colors have faded, so I'm glad I still have those pictures of like the fresh colors. Girl, we were all using those Copic markers. Those were like the it girl things back in the day if you were an artist. So I was using those Copic markers, those Jelly Roll ink pens.
Oh my god,
everything. So I'm so glad that I have like, you know, a catalog of like all my old stuff still, because it is nice to go back and kind of see that like progression. But speaking to more the indigenous side, like I had such a hard time liking who I was, like when I was growing up and stuff, so much so to the point that all of my OCs up until like probably way later were all like really like light skinned and like white, which look, I'm very light right now because it's winter still, but I can get very, very dark, and like
I was gonna say, I was just gonna blame it on the computer screen lighting you up. I was gonna blame it on that.
I am more like of an olive tone, but it's, you know, it's been dark, it's been winter, there's been like no sun yet out here in the Midwest, so I can get dark very, very easy. And like, gosh, some old like photos of me when I was like a kid that my mom had taken, I look crazy dark, and I probably wasn't outside for that long. That's just how my melanin is.
Right.
But up until like high school, I want to say I didn't have like any like original characters that I'd made, or like, you know, back in the day when we would trade like characters and stuff and have like adoptables. I know people still make them, but it was more of a thing back when DeviantArt was still like the big art place to be. But yeah, like none of my like characters that I had were like darker skinned or native at all. I think
Right.
I was very much so wanting to be anything else. And I think growing up and liking art kind of forces you to be like, guys, I think I might like anime. So then like you're like discovering a whole new culture.
Yep.
So like just watching anime and growing up in anime, like I know a lot of that culture and I would love to go one day just because I'm a big fan of like I'm a big fan of not necessarily the society itself. There's a lot of problems with the society, but
Right.
I would love to go for the food. I would love to go to certain destinations. And this is a good segue. I don't know if you've heard of this anime, but Golden Kamuy has an indigenous lead, and that anime is like my quintessential now favorite anime of all time.
Okay.
Because, like I said, there are indigenous people all over the world, and Japan has indigenous people. They're the Ainu, and there's still like a huge stigma around it. But the creator of the manga and the anime has done insane research on like going to actual places, getting actual photos, interviewing actual like indigenous people, going to museums that have some of these artifacts that haven't been like taken out of storage and like seen in like years. Like this anime has done so much for the Ainu people and for me, because being able to see like an indigenous person and indigenous people in this anime like not be like pitied, and that was one of the biggest things that I can't remember when, but the creator interviewed like an Ainu woman, and that was one of the things she said: don't like portray us in like a negative, pitiful like light, like show us in a good way. And so like the indigenous lead, she's like a young girl, and her whole thing is like, I'm an Ainu woman for a new era, like I don't want to follow all of the traditions, but she like teaches the main character like the food, the way they prepare it, stuff about like wilderness survival and stuff, and it has everything I love in an anime and in a media. It has the comedy, it has the story and the plot, it has the cooking, it has like everything. It's just so warm and comforting. It's just such a good anime that I have shared with so many of my friends, because I find that indigenous rep really important. And because it is still so stigmatized in Japan to have like the Ainu blood, which the whole blood quantum thing is a whole other issue, but
I can imagine.
But the fact that it's still so stigmatized and people have gone years without like wanting to acknowledge or like speak about like that part of their heritage, it reflects everywhere across the world where people have been, ridiculed for being like that. And for me, that speaks to me on a very personal level in the modern day of just, oh my gosh, like there are still like, I know anime gets flack for a lot of reasons, and a lot of those reasons are well-deserved reasons.
Yeah.
Trust and believe. I agree with a lot of them. But this one specifically has spoken to me, and I think, unfortunately, with the way the genre is and with the way they're categorized, it doesn't get as popular as the ever popular shonen category.
Right.
For, the action ones. So like, if I had to describe it, unlike the other ways I've described it, it's like a historical fiction.
Okay.
It has like historical figures from, Japan and over there, and it has some to do with Russia. So there's a lot of like world building and stuff. Like I said, it's a historical fiction. I really enjoy it. I love it for the indigenous aspect of it, but I think the overall story is incredible, and it's spoken to me a lot.
I can understand. I can imagine like seeing the kind of representation like that, especially nowadays or whatnot. I imagine you like absorbing that kind of stuff and trying to like reinstitute it into your own artwork, especially nowadays, like really embracing it more than ever before.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing. I found this anime a lot later than I feel like I should have, because it doesn't get talked about, and I'm not sure why that is.
I'll say I hadn't even heard of it before now, and honestly I would love to see it. Plus I was gonna go back to my buddies. Shout out to Alex and Richard of the Anime Egotist, a YouTube channel that you should I highly recommend you go check out or whatnot. But I'm gonna ask them and be like, have you heard about this anime? Because it sounds like really cool, especially with the way that my guest talked about it, for this one or whatnot. Like, it sounds like really, really interesting, and I'm curious, especially if they've even heard of it, because they review a lot of anime. So
I feel that's the other thing is talking about anime for just a second.
Yeah.
I feel like the biggest problem with the anime industry, besides the poor working conditions of the animators, I really want them to be paid and have livable wages and not horrible hours. But of the media as a whole, I feel like the problem is shonen is the genre that gets pushed the most, like the action stuff, the stuff that a lot of people are like, I don't want to turn my brain on for this, which makes me sad because you can still turn your brain on for stuff like that. But there's such a like people don't want to watch anything but those. And like I said, the genre that Golden Kamuy is, it's like a historical fiction. It's a seinen. It's something that's supposedly geared more towards like adults or older adults, but anybody can watch it. I mean, don't maybe you'll be above 18. Like there's there's blood and stuff.
Highly recommended.
Yeah, but like I just feel like the genre categories have really like everything's in shonen, and then there's such tiny little spaces left for these other genres to be in, because I also love like romance anime, and there's not been any great new ones recently besides a small handful, and like I wish there were more, and I wish there were more great like fun anime like Golden Kamuy that like can be a little bit of both. You can learn stuff and it can also be like a fun show to watch. So
I mean, just think about it. I mean, I know everyone jumps to shonen or whatnot, but I mean, you have like, for example, like you were talking about, you got the romance, historical fiction, slice of life, isekai. Like, there's all sorts of different genres that people can honestly jump into. It's surprising in animation. You have variety.
There is variety, and somehow the only one that gets the major acclaim is the action stuff, which I understand why, but I just wish the other ones got some more spotlight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you're talking about obviously like the anime aspect and like how much that had an impact on you, because I imagine it also leads into another thing that probably had an impact on you. I imagine, especially as you were talking about, like, at one point, like, especially in high school, you were talking about, wanting to be basically anything other than what you really are. Or whatever. So I imagine a way for you to kind of get that kind of mental escape for it is the fantasy aspect that you put in a lot into your artwork or whatnot. How did you become, like, when did fantasy become an element of what you loved and something that you wanted to put back into your artwork?
So it's gonna sound a little nerdy when I attribute it to this, but it is true, because I honestly cannot think of a specific anime besides, unfortunately, Sword Art Online, which we all know is not a great anime anymore. It was never great at the time, but we all should have thought it was. I don't want to attribute it to that. I will actually attribute it to when I first started playing Final Fantasy XIV.
Okay.
Because I started playing that in high school, and I want to say I started playing it in freshman year. So basically, all throughout my high school, I was coming back to that game when I wasn't crying over math homework.
Right.
I have that art brain. I hate math. So when I started playing it, I want to say it was probably 2016, 2017. So it's been several years.
Okay.
But my original like character in the game, it's the one that I still play, but I don't know if you know anything about Final Fantasy XIV, but I know cat girls.
I know a little bit here and there because I got a bunch of buddies that play Final Fantasy XIV. I just haven't played it myself, so I'm not that knowledgeable of it.
I'd highly recommend it, but that is neither here nor there. I think you would like it.
I understand the bias, and it's something I definitely considered.
Yeah, I get it. So my character that I made when I first started playing, she more or less looked like me.
Okay.
So like lighter skin, the brown hair, but instead of brown, I went with like a red pink color because it's fantasy. Why not? Why not go something different? So I made her, and learning about like the lore in the game and stuff, and basically realizing that like the cat girl race, the Makote. I sound like a total nerd. But
hey, we listen and we don't judge, okay?
We listen and we don't judge. Thank you. So the Makote in the game, the lore is very similar to the real life version of like kind of lion prides, and how like there's like different like groups, and there's like one typically male mask leader.
Okay.
And they're like they go by tribes.
Okay.
So I was like, well, there's the very obvious indigenous rep, even though it's a little dicey if I go into it further, but that's not the point.
Yep.
So I made my character Makote, didn't realize that was gonna have like an indigenous implication. I was like, wow, that's crazy and cool that I accidentally did that. And so that was the lore for my character, that like, you know, she was indigenous. And so that's kind of how that started, me making an OC that was indigenous. And, you know, furthering her lore and playing more of the game and getting used to the world and kind of understanding more of like the world of the game, and, you know, trying to understand more of the character that I've created and wanting to attribute more characteristics to her.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of gave her basically the same lore that I have, like having a dad and a mom, because I feel like a lot of the time when people make characters is they're like, you know, sometimes they're Mary Sue's, or like they're so edgy and emo and my parents died in a car crash, like like stuff like that. It's like, look, I don't want the worst for my character. I would actually love the best for her.
I was gonna say, look, I used to roleplay on Tumblr, like, so I know what it's like to have one of the
you get it.
I get it. I get it.
No hate to edgy backstories and lore. I just mean I'm generalizing for the sake of generalizing.
I would say you respect it, but for yourself and what you were doing, you wanted to keep it. You wanted to go a different route.
Yes, as much as the fantasy world is dangerous and can be dangerous, and you can have a super cool like lore or whatever, like I have never felt confident in the background stories that I give my characters. So I've never like done background stories. Like even with my old DeviantArt characters, I didn't really have much going on in terms of lore. I just liked drawing cool characters.
That's valid. That's extremely valid.
Yeah, and that is valid. But for this character, since I was playing this game and like this is the character I'm playing, I would like to attribute more to her. I want to know more about her. I want to make her look like how I think she would look like based on like her lore and stuff. So I basically kind of gave her the same similar-ish background to myself, like having a dad and a mom. The worst trauma I gave her was like thinking her dad was dead for a bit, and then they came back and there was a family reunion. It was great. So like she's fine. She's chill.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so like just having that like really normal kind of like family dynamic was something that I emulated, and like I have art of still. But you know, as I graduated high school and life started getting different, I didn't end up going to college, but I am starting that college journey soon.
Let's go.
Going to take some Ivy Tech classes
there
and then try and get those dumb prereq classes out of the way, and then head to an art school.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, so I'm excited for that. But with my characters, she ended up changing. So she is a lot darker than I look. She doesn't look exactly 1-to-1 like me anymore. But I still love her, and she obviously looks a lot more like native than I do. But not that I don't look native. You know what I'm trying to get at. I made her more of her own character. I didn't want her to be like a step in for me. So she's more of her own character now. She's not a cat girl anymore. She's like a bunny girl. Their story's still relatively the same. Besides like the cat people lore aspect, but we reworked it. So having her kind of be the biggest stepping stone on like creating a character with like meaningful lore, and trying to kind of also adopt like the indigenous aspects that I wanted her to, like putting her in some traditional clothing. I've done that a few times for like Indigenous Peoples Day and like for the month of November, because that's like, you know, that's Indigenous History Month and stuff. So I've done pieces of her specifically, and I think I did 1 or 2 with Catgirl version. So I have some pieces of her with not regalia, but like Navajo clothing with like turquoise and stuff on, because obviously that's the stone that's most important to us, with like the silver. So I've done pieces with her in it, and I think she was probably the biggest stepping stone for me to head in that direction, for like wanting to feel more comfortable with showing that part of like my background. Because obviously I don't think when people look at me they think like, oh, she looks indigenous, because I feel like most people are like, you look racially ambiguous, what are you? Because I've been asked that so many times throughout high school and like jobs and stuff. Like, not that it's a problem, it's just like, I'm sorry, I'm not Latina. I'm not Japanese. I don't know how you got that, but you know, I'm not that. But yeah, I think my Final Fantasy character is definitely the biggest like stepping stone to be more comfortable with having characters that are like indigenous. And I
Yeah.
think while I haven't thought very hard about that, I'm like, she really was, wasn't she? Like,
Yeah.
I haven't thought about it that deeply, but she really was. It's definitely been a process because I think compared to when I was younger, since like just having all those characters and not really having a story attributed to them,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes even making characters but not really attributing any story to them, now that I have this character that I have attributed so much like time, love, and care to, it's been a little scary to make like other characters, like other original characters. And I think the only other 2 times I've done it recently was one with Baldur's Gate.
Oh, there you
Love that
go.
game. Baldur's Gate 3. And there's like a story aspect in Final Fantasy where like the character you play as, you know, has like a shard within them of like a previous character. So like
Okay.
other people have like, here's your character and here's like who they used to be in a previous life, kind of basically. And so
Oh.
I have both of them now, and I love them dearly.
Nice.
But making characters has been kind of scary, like for me,
Yeah.
just because of I just haven't attributed like actual stories to like my older characters, and I've been working through that mentally because I don't know why. I don't know why I've been so scared to do it, but it might be because I want them to be all like have those indigenous backgrounds, and like I don't want to like, I don't know, flop in that aspect again.
I wouldn't say like, just especially hearing that, like how you got to where your character is right now, which by the way, what did you name your character, if I may ask?
Yeah, sorry, I've been avoiding that. Her name's Pyrrha.
Pyrrha,
So.
right, here we go.
Yeah.
But like, especially with how you attributed with like Pyrrha, like, you know, starting out just being kind of an escape from all the things that were going on like mentally around you or whatnot, to like really seeing like the connection you really have with Pyrrha, to the point to where like now you're just going all in and like really leaning into a lot more. Like, if nothing else, that's a really cool like partially like an evolution and like character growth or whatnot, especially not just for the character herself, but for you as well, really taking the opportunity to take in that culture a lot more and like really exhibit it in your art. Like, it's really cool to see. It's really incredible. And like, trust me, I've seen several stunning artwork that you did, Pyrrha or whatnot, and like
Thank you.
And like I love just like every single aspect that I've gotten the chance, and especially now hearing the story or whatnot, like I can understand why. I can partially understand why it's probably a little bit harder for you to like make new characters or develop new ones, because you've invested so much in Pyrrha. It's like, I don't want to like make a new character and leave her behind.
That's probably what it is. Yeah, because I'm worried about like leaving her behind, because I I'm gonna blame myself, because I feel like I definitely did that back in the day when I had all these characters that I was just drawing. Like, it would just be like a new character every time I would draw, a lot of the times. And, you know, I did have like a specific favorite that I would kind of go back to every so often, but I think that is probably why I'm like worried to make like new characters, because I don't want to leave like my other ones behind. I love them. They're my babies. They're my girls.
Yeah. I mean, the easy solution I would say is just build characters around Pyrrha, like have Pyrrha still be like the emphasis or whatnot, but like have ones that are affected in her life in one form or fashion, whether they're like friends and family.
And that's kind of
like,
what I've done. Yeah. Having her parents. I think one of the coolest things that I don't know if a lot of people talk about this, but I'm sure they do. But I have Pyrrha, I have her parents.
Okay.
I have like their background and their story and stuff, but you know, when you make friends and stuff via socials and video games and stuff, they also have a character. So one of my friends, they have like alt accounts for Final Fantasy just to have like different characters and stuff, which I wish that could be me, girl. I commend them for it. I wish that could be me.
I said the amount of dedication alone has to come with the customization of the character, like that's
yeah, different looks and stuff. I'm like, but I really like doing this one thing. Like, you know what I mean? I'm so like, I wish it could be me. But they have a lot of characters, and so some of their characters, and obviously Pyrrha, they we've like made it where like they live in the same like city, so like they'll see each other, or like they work at the same job, or like maybe they'll fall in love. So like shipping your characters and just having them kind of share that same world that you both like play in is like, I've never had anything like this before. So as much as like, you know, sometimes video games get toxic and sometimes you get bored of them, I think Final Fantasy XIV will always be the one that I like hold very closely because of just the connections and friends that I've made and the stories that I've been able to like, you know, kind of make up with a friend have been like really rewarding. So
I mean, I was gonna say, I was talking about this with a previous guest like not too long ago or whatnot, but like with every single fandom there's gonna be the few bad apples. That's always gonna be a case no matter where you go.
Obviously.
But like especially in today's day and age where it's very easy to like get really lost in these worlds or whatnot and really get absorbed in that kind of stuff, there's still obviously like the good community, there's still obviously the good friends, there's obviously the good quality times you get to have with so many people. I cannot tell you the amount of friends I've been able to make ever since I've started this podcast venture. Like the amount.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine.
And not just like people that like I know once here and there and be like, hey, you know, it's good to talk to you. You're, hey, how you holding up or whatnot. I'm
like
talking
acquaintances.
About like acquaintances. No, I'm talking about like ride or die friends. Like ones that I have gone to several conventions with at this point or whatnot, and ones that like on the most recent trip with like some of these guests or whatnot, two of them like got engaged to get married or like to each other or whatnot. Yeah, like
that's so sweet.
Like that's how much of like ride or die friends that I am with a lot of these people at this point. You know, like
that's awesome.
And to see you having that kind of same experience in this fun outlet while also getting an opportunity to like creatively like influence what you could potentially be doing with someone like Pyrrha or whatnot. Like I imagine that's gotta be also like a little exciting to think about. Like you have this literal sandbox that you could play with, and Lord knows what kind of world you could develop around them.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it's I totally get. I've definitely found some ride or dies in my time playing the game. Found several, have gone through several friend groups, but hey, sometimes you gotta leave friend groups.
Yeah. Sometimes the friend groups that you go into is not the friend group it becomes. That's something that I've learned.
Sometimes you walk out and it's just you and one other person.
Exactly.
And that's happened to me several times. Which I think I am thankful for those experiences, because as much as people are like, I can't believe you guys are fighting on the internet in a video game, it's like, well, at the end of the day, it's still like a social thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're still like a social friend group. Like, girl, you might not want to be friends with so-and-so in real life too. It's not different than this.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really thankful for the experiences and being able to like learn like kind of that problem solving communication, because communication is really important. And at the end of the day, if for whatever reason one party can't communicate, you gotta go, you know? Like exactly. I'm very thankful for having those experiences to just be better, just be a better person and friend. So
and like I said, especially in a way you're kind of taking that fun social experience and turning it into a fun creative experience as well.
Yes.
It does leave me kind of curious now, because it seems like you want to like actually like build a world, build a story or whatnot. So it leads me to wonder, what do you want to do with these characters like creatively? Like, is there something you want to like toy around with, something you want to plan with?
I've definitely thought about it. I've thought about like doing some kind of like mini comic thing.
Okay.
Though I don't feel very like inclined to do like a comic thing, just because I'm like, I've read several webtoons and it just seems like a lot of work, you know what I mean? And I'm only one person and they have several people to help them.
I mean some of them do, and I will say there's also been plenty of times where I've talked to artists or whatnot. I've talked to webcomic artists, and it's just literally themselves doing just about every little aspect of it. And it's obviously it's going to take some time to really get to that point. Like it's obviously going to get to that point to like no one person is going to be able to consistently push out like a single comic like every single week or every single day efficiently. Like there's a lot of planning that goes into it, but it's not impossible for one person to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I've definitely toyed with the idea of it. I haven't like made any concrete plans, but I've definitely like thought of it, toyed around with it in my head a little bit. I think what I'd love to do like in the near future is actually like draw Pyrrha and her family and draw like some little snapshots of her like growing up and stuff.
Yeah.
That's just definitely been something that I've thought about before. Like I've drawn drawn little baby Pyrrha. I've drawn, when she was a cowgirl, I drew like a little family picture of her mom and her dad. So like I'd love to go and like redraw certain things from like the old cat girl era and stuff, but I just don't think I could sustain a comic as much as that would be really cool and exciting. I do have like a bit of chronic pain in like my hands.
I gotcha.
So not arthritis, not carpal tunnel. I did like sprain my arm muscles in like high school. I just took like 2 crazy note intensive classes and I just so it's just been a constant like, does my arm feel good enough today to draw? So that's been kind of like another mental thing that I've been battling of just like I'm always going to have this thing and it's going to suck some days when I do want to draw. And typically nowadays, like when I do draw or like do go really hard on doing something in a day, like I'm typically like out for the count the next day for most of the day, which kind of sucks because girl, you use your hands for everything.
Yep. Yes.
The chronic pain thing has been like a crazy mental battle, and like I think it's unfortunate that a lot of people that are like older adults, like I want to say like people in their 40s and 50s, for whatever reason think that people in their 20s or younger can't have chronic pain, because it's like, yes we can. Like some people are born with it, some people develop it earlier in their life, and like unfortunately this is just something I have to deal with. And I'd love to be able to like work out and like strengthen my wrists, because gosh, they are so small. But just to like strengthen my own body and like work out just for the purpose of wanting to be able to draw more and like be able to do the things that I like to do and love to do. So the chronic pain has been something mentally that I've been battling the past few years. But I think kind of understanding that, girl, you gotta stop and take breaks and also stretch. And also sometimes you need to just call it done for the day. It has been something that I've been trying to do, like kind of mentally pacing myself.
Right.
Like as much as like it might feel bad mentally to be like, God, I really want to draw today, but it's really late, or I know my hand hurts, so I probably shouldn't. Kind of sucks, but there always is tomorrow.
There always is tomorrow. It's I mean, I can understand that kind of like having that creative drive on like full blast, but your body is physically like, all right, let's just take it back. Let's take a few steps back. Calm down.
Yeah.
And like it sucks. I can only like I feel bad just like hearing that little stuff, because I can only imagine how sometimes, especially like you said, like there are days where you want to stay up just a little bit longer just to finish that piece or whatnot, but like either you need to get the sleep, or your wrist is physically being like, all right, back down.
yeah. Having to sleep in a wrist brace, have like a hand massager thing, like it's definitely not what I imagined my 20s being like.
No,
but
I don't think anyone imagines their 20s being full of pain that they can't explain,
Yeah, and like as much as I've already been to like a hand, arm, wrist doctor, and then being like, well, we know what the reason is. It's just because your thumb is a bit hypermobile. So like the amount of force you're putting on it when you're drawing is more than it should be when you're doing it this way. And it's like, well, we could fix it with a surgery. And I'm like, girl, the recovery time, my hand, I'm not gonna be able to do anything. I don't want that. Like, I don't want to have to go through however many months of recovery time that is, because you, like I said, you use your hands for everything.
Yeah, fair. Although I will say, in defense of the doctor, if I'm thinking of it like, if I'm in this situation, I'm thinking like, yeah, we could do the surgery, but you'd be out of commission for a couple months. Okay, if I'm out of commission for a couple months, how long will it be before I have to come back? Will it be good for years at the very least? Will I not have to worry about this kind of stuff? I think I could sit on the bench for a few months if that means I get years of lifelong like lack of chronic pain. That's me mentally. I understand you are your own person. Yeah, you have your own mentality going into it. I get that.
I think my thought process on it is it's not like necessary.
Okay.
Like, I don't need to have this. It's not like I'm gonna die if I don't get this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not life threatening. It's optional. The only thing I'm worried about is the recovery time, and B, what the difference is going to be like with my hand after the fact. You know what I mean? Because it's not going to be anywhere near what it was before. So I'm kind of worried about like
okay, yep,
having to learn how to use my hand all over again, kind of
having to relearn all the natural stuff, like, you know, even
well, yeah, and that's the other thing. I'm having however long the recovery time is, I'm worried about like not being able to draw for that long, because I already did just kind of go through a bit of a period last year where I wasn't really drawing all that much. Like I think the most I drew last year was probably like art fight. So I went really hard for art fight, and then the rest of last year was kind of super mellow. I didn't do a whole lot, which I think I kind of burned myself out on art fight, which is a different problem. But
it's art fight. Like I've seen artists before and after an art fight. All right, I know how it.
Oh, we are tigers. It was crazy last year because they even extended the deadline into like the first 2 days of August. So I was like, "Ooh, I can do one more. I have time to do one more." And so then I did, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be so like tired for the rest of the year, just not wanting to draw or anything." So I kind of did. I really slowed down at the end of last year. It was a lot of work in progresses that didn't progress.
I mean, regardless, like, especially hearing kind of the obstacles that are kind of more or less like in the way, whether it be mental or physical or whatnot.
Yeah.
The fact that you're still able to produce like some high quality pieces, like especially throughout the years and whatnot, is something that I just personally cannot get enough of. It leaves me curious, because I know you've put a lot of effort, put a lot of time and a lot of thought into like ways that you're putting out there. You got to have like a personal favorite. Like, is there one that you think back upon and you're just like, I'm so glad I got the opportunity to actually like get this one and get this one done?
Yes, honestly, I think it's probably my most recent one.
Okay.
Drawing and painting, digital painting, rendering, whatever you'd like to call it, of Olrox, because that one I have actually been sitting on for 2 years.
2 years.
I remember when the show got like announced and like the teaser images were coming out, and I saw that, oh my god, there's gonna be an indigenous vampire. I don't care if he's a villain. I'm rooting for him all the way. You know, not having seen the show yet at all, obviously. And then seeing that Zahn McClarnon is voicing him, who is also an indigenous actor. He was in Res Dogs and is in, I think, Dark Winds. So he's been in a lot. And seeing that, I was like, oh my god, I have to draw this character. Like, long hair men is like my bread and butter. I love drawing a man with long hair.
There you go.
So I started it, got kind of far on the sketch, ended up not liking it, left it sitting for 2 years, picked it up like, gosh, probably last month or maybe into this month. You know, did a better sketch, completely reworked it, did the painterly stuff, and now I posted it. It's been 2 years.
Well, there you go. Hey, at least you got it done. It's progress. It's progress.
It is progress.
No, honestly, that one. That one. Now I think about it, that one looks absolutely stunning more than anything else. Like I could tell the time and effort that one. I'm not gonna lie. Anytime I see your character Pyra or whatnot, like I love. Pyrrha. Yeah, words.
No, it's okay.
Words are wonderful. Pyrrha. Anytime I get a chance to see her, especially how you draw her or whatnot, like I cannot get enough of it. Like the details they got with her and such. Like you really got this drawing thing down to a T. It's so weird.
Thank you. It's almost like I've dedicated years of my life to it.
Yeah, exactly. And like especially thinking of like all that you have been able to dedicate to it so far, and all the different pieces, all the different influences, and especially seeing like how not only you've grown as an artist, but how you've grown as a person. Like it leads me to wonder, like it leads me to wonder. You kind of teased a little bit by saying that you're gonna be going to college soon and get this done, but what do you hope to accomplish the more you go along this art journey as a whole?
Well, in regards to an art journey in college, I definitely am walking in with the right intentions, I feel like, compared to other advice that I've heard so often. Because I feel like the thing you hear from, like, YouTube art people is that, like, oh, art college was such a waste. I should have just stayed home and done and learned. And I'm like, girl, I don't know. Like, I try to do that, but it's like, no, like, you need, like, art college is important, and if you don't walk in with the right intentions, you're gonna walk out and be like, it was such a waste of money, blah, 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 blah. Because I've done a tour of the school that I'm going to be going to like
Okay.
a year or two ago, and one of the things that the whoever took us on the tour, I don't remember, but he explicitly said that like we will have like guest speakers come in, and it is optional, but if you are wanting to make those connections and have like an internship, I really highly always recommend
Oh yeah.
going to these to try and make those connections to end up having a job after you graduate. Because he went on to say that, like, I remember an old student of mine at the end of them graduating being like, okay, so what now? And it's like, well, did you not go to any things? No. Okay, do you not have any internships? No. It's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you
Right.
basically wasted like your whole college career. So I'm walking in with the intention of wanting to try and make those connections while also bettering my art and having building up, building more up of my portfolio.
There you go.
As it always is. You're always building your portfolio, but, building more of it and kind of building more of those skills. Because, as much as I love digital, and I know a lot of people will always tout that, like, oh, I love digital. It's better. It's easier. I find that it's easier. It's like you have to know how to do traditional stuff in traditional
absolutely.
mediums. It's very, very important to the craft. Like, so I am excited to try and make those connections and talk to these like guest speakers when they come.
Yeah.
But also being able to use like other mediums that I haven't used in like so long, like since like high school and stuff. Because gosh, there's even some of the professors that are taking some of the classes at the school. Like they teach, but they're also taking some. So I'm really excited to like go to art college, go to art school, and just make art.
Exactly. I mean, if nothing else, when it comes to like the traditional stuff or whatnot, I just gotta say, like, if a person's like, I stick strictly to digital or whatnot, like, try the traditional stuff. If nothing else, it's fun. Like, you heard us talking about some of the traditional stuff earlier. I mean, who doesn't want to mess around with a little bit of paint? Who doesn't want to potentially? Who doesn't want to potentially like make their own jewelry? Who doesn't want to play around with clay? Who does not want to do that? All right.
Yeah. It's adult Play-Doh.
Yeah, exactly. We all
loved Play-Doh. Let's get some clay.
We had Play-Doh growing up, all right? You can't tell. It's the cooler step, because then you could take it, make something out of it, and then light it on fire to where it's permanent, how you build it forever. Like, who does not want that?
Yeah, it's awesome. And honestly, speaking of pottery, before we move on, I just have to tell you this. You can get like a mini kiln that's like like the size of a microwave, and like fire things. So you can like get clay, get a little like, pottery wheel, and they're not like that expensive. So that might be something I do.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
A tiny little kiln. That's so cute. Like,
if I
make stuff at home.
Now, you say that, if I can get my own place or whatnot, and like get my own like little area to do that, I would do that in a heartbeat. I love pottery.
Yeah, exactly. See, you get it so much. Yeah, I really don't understand the like disdain for traditional mediums, and I wonder if it might just be like. I wonder if it might just be for people that might be newer artists or like newer digital artists, where they were so frustrated with not being able to control Z on like a sheet of paper or something, and not being able to zoom in for something it's like a small detail, which is nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I'm sorry, but real quickly, by you being like, I can't control Z on a piece of paper, and my mind just instantly went, okay, boomer.
Yeah, like doing undo, redo. Like I understand the like want for it to be like easier, but I think the biggest thing that digital can't teach you, unless you kind of don't do erasing or backspacing, is if you make a mistake with something traditional, it's like problem solving on how you go about either fixing it or letting it just be in the piece.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you spill something on your sketch, if you decide to leave that color and add more, you know what I mean? Like these mistakes can end up being what makes the art piece an art piece at the end of the day. And I think that's something that digital can't really teach you, because it gives you so many options to like fix or like course correct. So
exactly. It's it's always it's like what was it? It's like Bob Ross. Anytime you know, it's like it's a happy little exit at the end of the day. I can imagine, like, especially now that you got this looking forward to when it comes to your art journey, I can also imagine, like, looking back at your art journey as well, like, looking the opposite direction, seeing how far you've been able to come along, starting off by, you know, whether it be drawing or making the jewelry with your dad or whatnot, like, and doing that kind of stuff, to here you are right now, like, having, you know, fun when you can to be able to do that digital art, but also, like, taking the steps to potentially go further with it or whatnot. Thinking of your art journey as a whole, does it feel surreal to think how far you've been able to develop as an artist?
Honestly, I really think so. Because, like I said, I never thought that I'd be able to do, like, the more, like, digital render kind of painterly kind of stuff. And I've been able to do that in, like, the past 2-ish years, maybe.
Okay.
Because I've just found, like, a way that works. For me, I think the biggest thing is, like, it's crazy to say this, but, like, when you're painting something, like, I can see the base colors in my head, but figuring out how to shade the colors individually is, I think, where a lot of people get, like, stuck on. So I think the biggest tip for me, and biggest tip I think for anybody, would be to do, like, grayscale.
There you go.
Paint it in grayscale, and then do an overlay, and then you can mess around with like the overlays and add extra stuff if you need to, and, like, overpaint on the line art, which is what I do. So starting with grayscale has definitely helped with me. I've definitely come a long way in terms of using it more to my advantage for, like, the more, like, painterly style that I want to go for. And I'm very surprised that it's surprised that I've been able to do this, and B, also surprised that it's taken me this long to figure out. Because, like, I mean, there's tutorials all over, but until you actually, like, kind of understand the process,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, not everyone's gonna realize that the resources they need is gonna be right there. Sometimes it takes, you know, like you said, it takes years sometimes for someone to pick that up and, like, understand and implement that into their own artwork. But the way you've been able to implement it into your artwork, I guess, kind of attributes back to what we were talking about again when it comes to just your art journey as a whole, how much you've been able to develop and incorporate stuff, whether it be practical stuff like the art aspects that, like you were talking about, to also, like, the cultural aspect that we talked about earlier on in the podcast. Like, it's really cool to see kind of this amalgamation of all that being presented nowadays.
Yeah, it's really exciting. But yeah, if I if I was, like, my younger self and was able to see what I'm making now, like, I'm sure younger me would be incredibly, like, ecstatic and, like, no freaking way you drew that. Like, yes I did, girl, yes I did. Like,
there you go.
Yeah, I think my progress looking back has been very, you know, gradual and steady, but, you know, I'm surprised that I am where I am at today.
I mean, I think if nothing else, this conversation has shown that you absolutely deserve it. You've absolutely earned it with everything you put into it. But for this next question, if I may, let's say I give you more or less the dream scenario. We'll go above and beyond what we have. Let's say I am Big Shot Mr. Moneybags. I come up to you like, look, Hannah, we have seen everything you've been able to do so far, and we're absolutely blown away by it. And we know that there is more there. There's so much more we could do. You just need a little extra push, a little extra platform to get you to that point, you know? We have access to everyone and anyone in whatever industry possible, and more money than there should be possible. We probably should be taking our money and resources and probably bringing it back to the indigenous people to help make sure that their lifestyle is definitely improved or what. You know, we'll focus on them in a little bit. We promise we will focus on them. I know, but we are focused right now on you and you alone. Yes. If given this opportunity, what would be the dream Hannah, aka Turquoise Tiger project?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think I don't really have, like, a dream scenario.
Okay.
I think the only, like, dream scenario I've had is, like, gosh, I would love to just be able to not be, like, an omega popular artist, but just be well off enough via commissions to just live my life.
Okay.
Like, to be like, to be a painter in like the Renaissance era and just have room and board and just be told to paint my days away for whoever is paying me. Like that would be the dream.
Okay, so we'll give you more or less the modern version of that. We'll get you your own studio and like place you can live in and stuff like that. Have all the resources that you have possible to make whatever kind of artwork you make. You let us take care of the where we're sending it to and how you're gonna get the finances back for it. All right, we got you covered there. But how about that? Just a Turquoise Tiger studio or whatnot.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
But sadly, we gotta get down from the dream scenario. We gotta get back to reality, and I'll ask the ever so generic question: where do you hope to see yourself in, say, 5 to 10 years from now?
Ah, gosh. Well, I hope to be either in art school, already out of art school, and hopefully with a job, or like still trucking my way through art school. I think after art school, just in general, I'd love to like either work on like as a character artist for like a video game company or like for a movie, just like, you know, character design stuff, because I feel like that's definitely what I excel at. Because I've always loved like character designs and stuff, so I feel like doing anything regarding any kind of character design is definitely something that I would excel at, regardless of if it's with a game company or for a movie or an animation studio or something. I feel like that's where I'd like to be, but if not, hopefully something creative.
Well, there you go. I mean, honestly, I could easily see you going for that in one form, especially with how you draw characters or whatnot, going to that character design field. Like, it just seems natural. It seems like the natural progression.
Yeah.
As we start to wind down the interview, I just have one last question I want to ask. Obviously, you are deeply entrenched in art in one form or fashion at this point. Like, there's no taking you away from it, especially with how you were kind of raised in it, and especially the wide wealth of different cultures of art in one form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
How important is art, not just for you, but for the world as a whole?
Well, in this day and age, I feel like it's above all the most important thing, just in regards to how art's always been political.
Yep.
And it's the most human form. It's the most human expression, I think, of just people wanting to paint what they want, or people wanting to paint the change that they would like to see. I just feel like it's more important now than ever. And as much as I think a lot of people would agree and say that being an artist anywhere, especially online, is very oversaturated, I feel like I'd rather it be oversaturated than undersaturated, because in a dream scenario, I wish everybody could make a livable wage off of art, but unfortunately this is the real world. But I do think it's very important, especially now more than ever with, you know, AI art. But definitely had to weed out a lot of creators and stuff that I used to follow because of just the not caring about using it. It's been kind of very disheartening to see how quickly people have been one to not really like care or think about it, because there's video essays on why any of this is bad, why Bitcoin is bad, why AI art is bad, like why any of this is not okay, besides just we're telling you not to do it. It's like, we're telling you not to do it for a very good reason, for the artist's sake and for the environment's sake, like, and for the misinformation.
Yes.
Like, rest in peace, Facebook moms. Like, y'all are getting so much. I
feel like today, like yesterday's Facebook moms are today's like Twitter bros, you know? Sorry, X bros.
Yeah. I feel like it's gone so downhill so fast, because I remember like it must have been like just a couple years ago when like it was new and like people were making those silly images of like with like the Dali thing. Like I feel like that was just yesterday, and now we're to the point where like no, like businesses are doing like advertisements and murals with like AI art, and we're making movies with it.
Yeah, Jesus. I mean, for God's sakes, the Christmas season, Coca-Cola had a whole entire campaign with it, that shitty 30-second. Ooh.
Awful, awful, awful. Yeah, I think now more than ever, it's really, really important, and I think it's just as important for people to make art, but not only that, to credit people for their work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if it's not art, like art especially, but credit people for their work.
Yes.
Like, if you're on a team for a movie, a game, a book, something, like, you have to be credited. I feel like there's been so many examples recently where people have not been being credited for the work that they are doing in the video game industry and with like art and stuff. Because I mean, I know we know that art will get reposted if you post it anywhere, depending on what it is, all over. And I applaud the people on whatever website they're using or app that go out of their way to be like, hey, the artist is so and so on Instagram or Twitter or wherever. So those are the real champions.
Absolutely. I think that is wonderfully worded, if I do say so myself.
Thank you.
Hannah, that is all the questions that I have for you. I have been showering you with Lord knows how much praise up at this point, but I will shower you a little bit more because it's my podcast. I do what I want.
Oh, thank you.
No, absolutely. Like I said, ever since I first even got just a taste of your art and what you got to present, I knew I wanted to get a chance to sit down and chat with you because, like, I could tell, like, just from the detail and, like, how stunning the art looks or whatnot, I could tell that you put a lot of time and effort into it. And especially getting the chance to sit down with you right now and hear not just how much the art means to you, but how much, like, it has grown and progressed with how you have grown and progressed. Like, I truly see, like, a true, like, life arc, life story with what you've been able to, with how you've been able to, like, with the different stages of your life, whether it be trying to get away from who you are to truly embracing who you are, from, like, really learning about this kind of stuff to, like, going above and beyond to, like, showcase every single opportunity that you get. Like, I know it's not easy, especially in today's society, to really, like, showcase and truly be how you are if you're not, you know, a certain kind of way. If you're not basically, you know, to put it bluntly, if you're not like me, like, you know, it's how hard it is for a person to really showcase who they truly are or whatnot. And so the fact that you take the time, no matter how big or how small your audience may be, to, like, make sure that you put as much of you into just about everything that you do, it's admirable. It's incredible, and I cannot wait to see not only how many more people get a chance to do that, but how you get to showcase that in the future and as you really take these next steps to really progress in your art career. Because I can tell you right now, especially if you have the good mentality that you have right now and the good enthusiasm, I know you're going to go places because I could tell it. I could tell it, like, just from us talking. Like, you have a lot of love and enthusiasm for this art field and for this life that you've been on so far, and I am going to be rooting for you every single step of the way to see what you're going to be doing next. Oh, no, absolutely, because I know that, like, I know you have the opportunity to do that on your own, but I'm more than happy to give that love and support right back to you so you can keep going because you deserve it. The long and the short of it is, thank you, Hannah. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for putting yourself out there like you do. And like I said, I'm going to be rooting for you every single step of the way because I know you keep up that mentality, that enthusiasm that you have for this journey. Like, you're going to go places. I know you are.
Thank you. Yeah, that means a lot.
No. Absolutely. Trust me. I speak nothing but the truth on this podcast, okay? I
believe it.
I say, I've already gotten you here. Why do I need to lie any further, you know?
Yeah. That's right.
And if people will have not had the opportunity to, you know, see why exactly I have been gushing about you for the past hour and a half or however long we've been recording up at this point, go ahead and plug yourself for the people at home. Where can people find you?
Well, I'm really only on two-ish websites. I have my Blue Sky, which is at TurquoiseTiger. And I also have my Kara, which I haven't been updating as much. I'm kind of using it more as like a portfolio kind of thing, so I haven't been updating as much, but also the same username, I think, with an underscore at the end. And if you participate in Art Fight, I'm also on there.
Oh, there you go.
With Turquoise Tiger _ Yeah.
I'll be sure to add those links, and if there's any others that you may have missed after the fact or whatnot, I'll be more than happy to put them in the description so that people can find you. It does lead me to one last quick little question. I forgot to ask this a little sooner.
Sure.
You kind of teased this a little bit whenever you were saying that it might have something to do with, like, how you grew up or whatnot. Where exactly did the username Turquoise Tiger come from?
Okay, so that one's really funny, and it does kind of have to do with my old DeviantArt account.
Okay.
My old DeviantArt account had a name that was like the Japanese version of like what I assumed to be Snow Tiger. And I had a really long time friend on DeviantArt, Aaron, but they might go by something different now. But they told me that it doesn't, the way that I spelled it didn't mean snow anymore, because I'm pretty sure they had taken like Japanese language classes before.
Mm-hmm.
So they told me that it actually doesn't mean Snow Tiger, it actually means Courage Tiger. And I was like, oh, that like kind of was an accident, but that like kind of makes it better. So I ended up realizing that I didn't want to go by that username anymore. So I thought long and hard about it when I was on Twitter, because I was like, I should probably change my username to something that isn't, you know, a language that I speak or a language that I'm, you know, from a country that I'm not from.
Right.
So I was like, I'd love to keep the tiger because I do love tigers.
Right.
So I was like, we'll just do Turquoise Tiger and call it a day. So that's kind of how I made mine. I must have made it like within the past couple years or so, but yeah, I made that change, but I wanted to keep the tiger aspect. But that accidental cool username is definitely something I always think of.
That is valid, and you kind of brought this up earlier whenever you mentioned turquoise in the first place or whatnot. But what exactly is like the turquoise in like when it comes to the meaning in like the Navajo, like, you know, indigenous culture or whatnot? Like, how important is the turquoise?
I don't know if it has like a specific meaning, because again, I'm not a res native, I'm a city native.
Valid, fair, understandable.
So it just is like, you know, in terms of like jewelry and adornments, like the silver and the turquoise are like the most important. I'm wearing I'm wearing a ring with one right now.
Oh, there you go.
My dad made. Yeah, so I don't know what the like actual like importance of it is, but it's a staple. It's like what we wear with like the traditional outfits. Like it's typically on like belts, earrings, like, you know, the little ascot tie things, rings, necklaces, just jewelry in general. And it's just the stone that I think is, I don't know if it's like commonly found out there, it must be, but it's just what I know.
Honestly, that's valid. I mean, it's, if nothing else, it's a gorgeous stone. Let's be honest with ourselves here.
Yeah. So yeah, it definitely, growing up with it, I was like, well, this is kind of important to me. It's kind of, I've always had like a ring on with turquoise on it. So
well, there you go.
I was like, well, we'll just make it that. So,
there you go.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Do you have any final words before we sign off?
I had a really great time talking with you. And thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it. I never thought I would get like an opportunity like this, and I thought, well, if I have it, might as well take it. And I also want to say I really appreciate the work that you're doing. I think it's very, very important, and I hope that you get a lot of other artists with different perspectives on, because like I said, I think having different perspectives is incredibly important.
Absolutely. Look, you don't need to butter me up anymore, all right? You've already been on the podcast. We've had the interview. You don't need to sweet talk me. We've already got... No,
You're right.
No. In all seriousness, thank you for the kind words, really. Like, it's... Like I said, at the end of the day, like, I have my reasons for doing this kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, like, I always love having these conversations and really giving the world an opportunity to just see more people, see more of humanity at the end of the day. And like, you know, all sorts of different aspects of it, because we need that in the world. We especially in today's world where it's just nothing but chaos and you know,
it feels like nothing but chaos every day.
Like, especially in today's chaotic world, that little bit of humanity, you know, I'm more than happy to showcase that on so many different fronts, especially when that humanity leads to something absolutely as stunning as your artwork. So
thank you. I do have one question though.
Go for it.
Because I didn't go very, very, very far back on the YouTube page. But what led you to starting the podcast?
I'm so glad you did ask that. So it was actually a couple of things. It's two major things. It was two major catalysts or whatnot. Plus so in college, I initially wanted to just do a podcast, like just for the heck of it. I was initially gonna call it like the prologue or the or something along those lines. Because I went to film school. So I wanted to do it just simply based on, like, you know, directors and producers, writers, like people that are in the behind the scenes that aren't like the major actors, and like giving them a chance to talk about their kind of stuff. I kind of put that on the back burner, like, you know, didn't really think much of it or whatnot. As I got out of college, which I still need to go back and get my degree. I got like a semester of classes left to get before I can get that kind of stuff.
I know you can do it.
I know. It's more of a mental thing more than anything else.
No, I get that. I get that.
But anyways, so as COVID was a thing, obviously, and as the month progressed, I became more and more online, especially on Twitter, and I saw two major things happening. I saw an artist that had a huge following get canceled because they were a sack of shit, to put it bluntly. Yes, and I'm not going to give that artist the time of day, although they have not been mentioned in the cultural zeitgeist for years, so there you go. But also, like, I was seeing, like, people that I was following, kind of like what you were talking about when it came to, like, the teams or, like, people working on games or, like, movies or whatnot. Like, people talking about, like, hey, I had the opportunity to do this. You wouldn't, see my name in the credits or whatnot, but I had the opportunity to work on this and that. And I've always been a person that's like, like, especially seeing the amount of hard work and effort that people put in that kind of stuff and just not get that kind of respect for in the first place. I want to make sure that those people got their time in the sun, got the chance to really showcase, like, hey, I'm such and such. I did this. I love what I do. I'm going to keep doing it. Like, I want to make sure that people know at the end of the day that, like, their hard work is not going unnoticed. And that's why I was more than happy to bring on these people, bring on these different artists of all forms or whatnot, and have them talk about, like, the time and effort they put in that kind of stuff. Because I know that, especially in the art field, it's really hard to, like, it's really hard just in general, but more particular, it's really hard to, like, have your stuff out there and people appreciate more than just the artwork itself. Like, maybe you'll get, like, a comic that goes, like, viral or whatnot, but people aren't going to look back and think, like, oh my god, who's the person that did this kind of thing or whatnot. Like, you'll get, like, the good handful or whatnot, but then, like, they'll just move on and then they'll repost it, like, 20 different times, and then you won't know who the original artist is in the first place. So I just wanted to at least make sure that those people got that opportunity to say that kind of stuff. And that was September of 2020 where I started this bad boy, and here we are now. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. What a really great origin story. And also, like, during 2020, oh my god.
I think also part of the reason why, I wanted to do it, especially during 2020, is like, well, most of the people are going to be in their homes anyway. So, I mean, it'd be very easy. It'd be very easy to get some Discord calls going and to get this thing going.
Like, we were all home. We were doing nothing.
Ironically enough, I was one of the few people that wasn't stuck at home, like, all the time because, like, because my IRL job or whatnot, I work with, like, tractor equipment and kind of stuff like that. Because it's agriculture, it was considered an essential business. So I still went to work and did that kind of stuff. Yeah. Half the time I wasn't doing much of anything because, not everyone was exactly buying the equipment or whatnot. There were times where I would get into work in this giant warehouse and everything would be done within, like, the first hour out of an 8-hour shift. That's how much of nothing there was. But just because I was still working, there was also no one else still working. So, yeah.
Hey, man. At least you were doing something in 2020. I can barely remember what I was doing in 2020 besides just being like, well, I guess high school is over. Like,
I was going to say, so I'll say this real quickly. So what was funny is whenever you mentioned the fact that you didn't have the prom, remember how I said, like, the ride or die friends, like the two that just got proposed to each other? The reason why we were the thing that the proposal happened or whatnot was at the Airbnb that we were staying at. We decided to have, like, an impromptu, well, not really impromptu, but we decided to have, like, a mini prom or whatnot because
fun.
Because, like, one of the people, like, obviously their senior year was also during COVID, so they didn't get the opportunity to have their senior prom. So it's like, screw it, we got a bunch of friends here, we're gonna have our own, like, little prom or whatnot.
Yeah,
and
that's so nice.
Yes, and then, like, at the very end, after a nice little slow dance, the fiance got down on one knee, proposed to her. It was such a sweet moment. It was really well done.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So, like, I felt your pain whenever you said that you didn't get a prom, let alone a good graduation. That wasn't a Zoom meeting, I assume.
It actually wasn't a Zoom meeting, which was surprising. It was literally just, here, drive by the front of the school. We have this big manila packet. Here you go. Some people dressed up. Some people dressed up in the car. I was like, girl, no, I just woke up like 3 hours ago. I'm just coming in what I'm getting. Give me the envelope. Bye. Like,
You had a drive-through graduation.
Yeah, a drive-through graduation. Yep, that's what I had.
I imagine for half of them, I imagine there's got to be like a good handful of them to where like they did the drive-through. Maybe like their parents was the one that drove them through. They get their packets, and as they're driving away, the parents are like, "Yep, get a look at your future. Next time, ask, would you like fries with that?"
I'm sure somebody's parent made that joke. It wasn't mine though.
Oh my god! Yeah, thank God your parents were supportive. With that, all I have left to say is for the people at home, if you can, please pay your artists.
Tell me what's wrong, tell me sparks in motion. Sing me a song, tell me your eyes can all open. Show me it all, pick me up in the car you drove when you used to call. Show me it all.
Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. If this is your first time listening, I greatly do appreciate it. Like I said, just getting the chance to talk to Hannah about the incredible, like, both blend of realistic culture with fantasy elements. This was the conversation I was hoping for, and then some. Hannah, if you've gotten up to this point, thank you. Thank you for taking time to do this, and thank you for being so open with what you're all about. This is it's always fun getting the chance to highlight people and the things that they're passionate about, especially whenever they find that like more or less passion. Especially whenever they find ways to incorporate stuff that, you know, incorporate real stuff. God, I'm so weird. No, I'm always amazed with just kind of where people come from on a cultural standpoint, and always trying to figure out like where they are coming from. I'm gonna turn myself up just a hair. There we go. No, I'm always amazed, and so it was really good to hear from Hannah. Kind of the journey that got her to this point. That's why I wanted to. That's why I'm always here to highlight and encourage the artists, especially kind of the lesser known ones around this month, and to be blunt, just about any time. I mean, if you follow this podcast enough, you know that like I'm just gonna highlight cool artists and cool people at the end of the day. So there's always that. Speaking of highlighting those cool artists and cool people, we have a lot of major Kickstarters. I don't know if you guys have noticed. So, former guest Gene Goldstein of Jellybox currently has a Kickstarter going to get Umbert Actually funded. As well as, more recently, we got Silly Minnie and Bryn Lewis. They're both currently trying to get Zipped Up funded. And obviously, you know how much I love these people and I love these projects. So, I'm going to have their Kickstarters linked in the description below. Get that going. I would also hype up Farfetch, but they hit their goal in like less than 24 hours, which good for them. I am so proud of them. They have been working on that project for years, and I'm so glad that people share that love and enthusiasm for that project. I want that love and enthusiasm for the other projects to be shown as well. So if you guys haven't had a chance to check out the other Kickstarters, please do, and please hype them up in one form or fashion, whether you can donate or just spread the word. Because I know how much this stuff means to them, and I really want to see these projects funded. I've already put my donation down for at least the Zipped Up one. So I'm excited to see where that's going to go. But whether it be the smaller artists that I bring up here in April, or whether it be some of the more known artists that I hype up and are currently trying to get their projects funded, do what you can this month, and to be blunt, any month, but do what you can to really hype up those voices, to really spread the names out there and really get these projects off the ground. Because if you have taken the chance to listen to one episode of this podcast, you know how passionate these artists are about their stuff, and I want to see that stuff get funded. So let's do that today. Let's see what we can to really help these people get their vision out there into the world.